Hey everyone, welcome back to Conversations on the Couch. I am your host, Tina J. Pearson. Thank you so much for joining me here on the couch. Our topic today is journaling. One of my favorite things to do is journal, and I'll tell you why. Um, when I was in school, probably starting middle school, I had an eighth grade teacher, Mrs. Cribb. I love her. She read one of my papers, and in the paper, she stated that I had voice. And so I didn't actually know what that meant. And me being the nerd that I am, I went and I did some research as to what voice meant. And I think I might have even asked her about it as well. And from that moment on, I was just inspired to write. And so my best friend and I, we wrote letters to each other every day. I started journaling every day. And journaling actually became my outlet. It was my way of venting because I'm a person that does not open up about a lot of things in my life. I talk to God about it all the time, but I don't actually really talk to anyone else about it. So journaling became my outlet. Journaling became the way that I vented. But going back to middle school and my best friend, y'all, we would write letters every day to the point where even in high school, we came up with a code. So we had like our own little alphabet code, and if you didn't know the code, it was like one other person I think that we let in on the code, and if you didn't know the code, you could not decipher what we were writing about. So it was really cool. And I remember a few years ago when I was back home, I was going through the letters, and I had no idea what they were saying, but luckily, I still had the key to the code. But journaling can be so therapeutic. It can do so much for you. And especially, last week we talked about getting in your quiet place and spending that quiet time with God. And one of the things I said is have your journal because God will download so much. I never go into my quiet time with Him without a journal because I never know what He's going to say, and I don't want to miss it. I'm telling you, I have. Let me think. What do I put in my journal? I write letters to God in my journal. I have a prayer journal, so I have several journals. Let me say that I have several journals. So I have a prayer journal where I write all of my prayer requests or anyone who comes to me with their prayer requests. I write that in my prayer journal, and I physically open a journal. I lay out during my quiet time with God. I pray over everything that's in that journal. And the good thing about it is it's documented. So I have the date when the prayer request came forth, and I can actually go back and document when it was answered. And it's just amazing to see all the blessings of God just through a journal. Then I have my other journal where I write prophetic words that I receive, and I can go back and see when they manifested. Um, and when I got them, when I received them, and when they manifested. My visions, any downloads God gives me in my quiet time. Anytime I hear that He speaks to me, anything He says to me, I write letters to Him. I write letters to myself. I mean, it's just so therapeutic. I love the water. I love the mountains. So there have been times where I've been at the beach which was one of my grandmother's favorite place. I wrote a letter to her um, at the beach. Um, the mountains is another place where I just love to go, and I get downloads and I can like just look at and be in awe of God, and I just write. I just write whatever comes to mind. And sometimes I just sit. I just sit quiet and then I just start writing and I just journal whatever comes to mind. And a lot of times I'll go back to it and ask God, okay, what was this for? What does this mean? And I'm a word person too. So one of the things that I love to do in my journal is every year, and I got this from the wonderful minister Adrian Young. So y'all, I'm sorry if you hear all the tumbling. My baby is upstairs playing the game, and he is jumping around. But anywho, one of the things that Minister Adrian Young, taught me was the power of asking God for a word for the year. And sometimes that word is actually a word from the Bible, but sometimes it's just a word. And so, for example, one of my words this year was growth. And so what I did was I took that word and I wrote it in my journal. I wrote down the definition of it. I wrote down synonyms for it. And then I wrote down antonyms. And the antonyms, what she taught us, are the things to pray against. So after I do all that, then I take time to ask God, okay, what does this mean? How will I see this in my life? What does this mean for my year? And so I can go back at the end of the year and I have everything documented. So journaling is just an amazing, amazing way to, one, vent, to two, keep track of your downloads and prophetic words from God, three, to document and see the things and occurrences in your life, but it's also something that you can leave for your children or for your family. I never met my dad's dad. He died when my dad was, I think, 3 is what my dad told us. And so I don't know a lot about him. But if that were to ever be the case for me, I will have journals left behind that tell the story of my life. And that's the beautiful part of it. I love that idea. And so there was a time in my life where I stopped journaling. I lost my love for writing because of a situation that happened in college. And God is so strategic because the year that I needed to start back writing, I had like 10 journals as a gift between my birthday and Christmas, and a thank you for helping out with a baby shower. I was like, okay, God, I got it. 10 journals, I got it. And then it wasn't by happenstance. Soon thereafter, I connected with wonderful women of God who journal, and I learned their reasons and purposes for journaling. I learned how they and what they journal about, and my journal is everything. So I encourage you, if you are not a journaler, if you don't like to write, I encourage you just to start simple. Even if it's like sometimes I just open my journal and I say, I actually write, God, what would you want to tell me today? Or if I have a question for God, I just write the question. And then when I get the answer, I can go back and answer it. And I have so much going on. Sometimes I forget stuff. So again, my journal helps me to remember those things that I could just easily let fall by the wayside. So I pray that you all will begin to journal if you don't already, because I'm telling you, it is an amazing process and an amazing thing that you can always go back to, and something that you can leave for the future. So that is our conversation today. Thank you all so much for joining us. The next conversation on the couch, we will have our first guest. I'm so excited. It's finally here, y'all. It's finally here. Y'all been hearing me talk about it for what, like a month and a half, 2 months? Finally here, we'll have our first guest. So I'm so excited to have her join us. I am not going to tell y'all who yet. I'm not going to spoil anything. But the lineup for June and July is amazing. So I love you all. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next Thursday. Have a good one.
I walk through the fire, the sound of a lion.